What's up, guys? Connor O'Hanlon here for another episode of the Greater Society podcast. And today we have a jam-packed show. I'm going to be talking first about the local stuff, which I don't normally do. Normally I save a lot of local stuff for the end. I'm fired up about some local stuff. We're going to talk about that first. Specifically, it's going to be talking about the superintendent of the Central Bucks School Board getting a 40% raise on his salary and what that means for all of us. I will be talking about an article that was written saying that AOC is just another Democrat and that she is a, sellout is what I've seen on Twitter. We'll talk about the record. We'll talk about what she has been able to do 5 years at this point, 4 years really. But we'll talk about the UPS and Teamster deal briefly. And we will talk about Vivek Ramaswamy, who is somebody who is running for president, believe it or not. And he is running in the Republican primary, and he has, quote, surged in the polls. Then we will also take a look at today a clip of Mitch McConnell kind of shutting down in the middle of a speech. What that means, what that says for the Republican Party moving forward. And a lot more, and a lot more, as we will definitely see. For some reason, I lost my chat, so I will have to figure out a way how to pull that up. But until then, we're going chatless. But yeah, so today we are dealing with tons and tons of different stuff, right? Of different topics all across the board. But I have to put my chat on my phone because I closed it out on my screen somehow and I don't know how to get it back. So yes, I don't know anything about the aliens, to be honest. I don't know anything about the aliens, to be honest with you. I saw that there was some panel talking about the aliens. Now, I feel like there's been a number of, of times where the alien conversation has kind of existed. But there we go. Now, cool. I got chat back. So I would love to send me something that I can check out what the aliens is about. I would love to check that out. So we're gonna start off here with a local story, and this local story is a bit frustrating. As we talked about last week, we talked about the redistricting of the Central Bucks school board seats. Okay. In the past, we talked about book bans that have been implemented. I think it's policy 109.2. In the past, we've also interviewed 2 students in their protest over one of the teachers being fired, Mr. Burgess being fired, Central Bucks, for providing help for LGBTQ plus students. This school district is being sued for discrimination against women for salaries, which will be important here in a second. Wage discrimination. It is being investigated by the ACLU, the Department of Education, because of their treatment for LGBTQ plus community. Okay? That scratches the surface of what has gone on my alma mater. This week, on this episode of Central Bucks School Board, the 6 Republicans in the majority. Remember, 6 majorities on the 6 is the sweet number, super majority on the Central Bucks School Board. It is also the sweet number on the Supreme Court. These super majorities, this is why elections matter. This is why organizing matters, recruitment matters, training matters, fundraising, volunteering, etc. This district, after all of that happening, that's not even including the COVID stuff, by the way, from 2021 has been under the leadership of Superintendent Abraham Lucaball. Now, apparently, he had a 5-year contract, which seems reasonable, okay? Last Friday, the Republicans decided, somebody close with the Republicans that nobody knows who it is, miraculously, decided that they wanted to have Dr. Lucaball resign from being the superintendent in order to extend his contract, which is technically not an extension. It would be like a renewal of a new contract for 5 more years, even though he hasn't fulfilled the 5 years that he was on his original contract, with not a 5%, not a 10%, not a 20%, not a 30% raise, with a 40% raise to his annual salary. Now, why am I talking about this? Why does it matter so much? Oh, Connor, yeah, it's a 40% raise. Whatever. The superintendent of Central Bucks, before last night, made over roughly $225,000 a year. Now, okay, Central Bucks is in the top 5 largest school districts in Pennsylvania. Okay, fair enough. The guy should be paid pretty well. The guy, the gal, whoever it is, they should be paid pretty well. Yeah. But just so you understand, put it into context, and we will watch some clips. We will respond to them. A 40% raise for Dr. Lukuba is roughly $90,000. Not 9,000. 90. I am not putting this out there to be like, oh, poor me. But I am a fully licensed, trained, certified public accountant. And his raise alone, not his salary, his raise from this year to next year, or this, whatever the cutoff is, from his former contract to the next contract, in the yearly salary difference, is larger than my entire yearly salary. This is a public servant who gets paid more than the governor, who gets paid more than congressmen. This is okay. But it goes beyond that. Because it was snuck in by the 6 Republicans without letting the Democrats know. The Democrats knew the day before the vote happened. Now, why was this necessary? We don't know. Is this something that has to be done? No. Is this something that everyone agreed to? No. In fact, as you'll see, there's tons of public comments not in support of this. Because support staff has record openings in Central Bucks because they did not get these raises. Teachers are leaving Central Bucks. Teachers are leaving Penn Ridge. Teachers are leaving all these Bucks County districts that used to be so appealing. And you know what? I don't have the clip here, but Hatboro Horsham is an example that is used last night. I listened to the entire meeting today. Hatboro Horsham superintendent had the same thing where they had him resign and they had him come back. Okay? And I believe it was Dana Hunter. Could be wrong. It was one of the Republicans that are the leaders in this school board that mentioned, and he made $200 and something thousand, and he got a $20,000 raise. And for those who may not be so quick with the math, that's 10%. A 10% raise. Because they said, why wasn't this making headlines in the news? Why wasn't this all over the place? Why wasn't this? Hatboro Horsham's right there. It's right next to us. Why wasn't this? It's not. It's because CBSD, the Democrats control the media. No. It's because a $20,000 raise, although large, is 10% of his salary. Versus $90,000. $90,000. As a taxpayer, I'm appalled by that amount. Oh, like, do 50. Do 50. Give him 50. That's still a ton. That is still a ton. If you give him $60,000, that's a ton. $90,000. They compared it to Hatboro Horsham giving him $20,000 for a superintendent, which is 10% of that salary, which is, by the way, better than the teachers get in their raises. It is better than support staff gets in their raises. It is better than custodians get in their raises. It is better than substitute teachers get in their raises. I can go on and on and on. This is how wealth gets more wealth. Wealth inequality is perpetuated because even though the teachers are the ones that are hands-on teaching kids, it's the higher-ups that have to rake in the big bucks. And I mention all that because in the beginning of this segment to say, it's not obvious that the job is a super well-done job. based on performance here. So let's take a look at some clips, shall we? These are all from TikTok. This is from the Central Bucks Watch page. Because I won't wrongly state who this is from, because in the past people have lost their lid about that. This is from the Central Bucks School Board, CBSD School Board Watch account. This is from the CBS News.
The Central Bucks School Board voted to approve the extension of the current superintendent's contract for 5 more years, and the move includes a nearly $90,000 base salary raise.
Many parents say that the new contract was only announced yesterday, and that comes in a district that's already faced school tax increases in recent years. CBS News Philadelphia's Alicia Roberts reports from Doylestown.
Tuesday night, parents in Central Bucks lined up early to get their voices heard about a new contract that raises Superintendent Dr. Abram Lukenbaugh's base salary for the next 5 years from $225,000 to $315,000. The roughly 40% increase immediately makes Lukenbaugh, who leads Pennsylvania's 3rd largest school district, one of the state's highest paid superintendents, behind only Philadelphia's Dr. Tony Watlington.
Taxpayers don't like to hear that a person who's already earning $225,000 is now going to be making $315,000 when there wasn't any indication that they needed to do this to retain him.
So that was just a former teacher from my high school, so everyone understands.
Was currently in the 2nd year of an existing 5-year contract. Residents were often divided during the school board's monthly public comment session.
These are my tax dollars, and I consider this increase unacceptable. I'm not aware of anyone getting this type of increase. It doesn't match inflation. It's just ridiculous.
So you're going to see a number of people complaining about and rightfully so, complaining about the amount, complaining about fiscal responsibilities. Lindsay points out in chat. It's not about fiscal responsibility. None of this is about fiscal responsibility. In my opinion, personally, we'll talk about it a little bit more. I don't care the nominal dollar amount as much as saying the hypocrisy in giving somebody a 40% raise at the top who is fulfilling the political ideology of the supermajority on the board versus scraping or scraping together a 2.5 or 3% raise for staff. Like the people that actually make, like, look, a superintendent's super important. No pun intended. But a school is nothing without teachers. Teachers can't teach without support staff. Teachers and support staff can't operate without a clean and healthy environment without custodial staff. All of this is together. Every piece of this works hand in hand. It is frustrating because the actual $90,000 isn't the end-all, be-all deciding factor. Although people will talk about in the clips the budgetary confinements that are put on the school board. Yeah, school without teachers is a prison. I mean, school with teachers sometimes feels like a prison, man. But this is incendiary because of the hypocrisy more than the actual nominal amount. Although it is very, very frustrating to know that, like, after all of these horrible decisions that have been made by the school board and supported by the superintendent, that my tax dollars, your tax dollars, potentially, are going to this gigantic pay raise. So here we have friend of the program, former guest of the old version of this show, school board director, Dr. Tabitha Delangelo, talking about this. And this is a longer clip, so I'm probably going to pause it a lot and interject. But here she is on her opinion on this raise.
However, when I was running on this board, we were in the midst of support staff negotiations, and I watched support staff and parents and teachers and students come here, and they were begging for relatively small raises. What we settled on was well below market, and we've suffered for the last 2 years with...
So just when Tabitha is talking about, or Dr. Delangelo, put some respect on it, just because she's my pal doesn't mean I should talk about her that way. What she's talking about, and she mentions this at rate, right? Like at the market rate. Like, remember, this is comparable across different school districts and saying like, well, what I could get over here, over there. Remember, always, by the way, know your worth, know what you can get in the market, because you should always be able to look, compare, because when you're trying to get your raise, that's how you could actually advocate for yourself. But with that being said, the market rate for a superintendent is extremely variable. So when Tab is talking about the distinction in support staff being under market, the superintendent's dollar amount, the dollar figure for their salary, is variable based on the amount of students, the amount of schools, where they are, etc. And there's not like a set in stone like mirror image in Pennsylvania, right? So it's like, oh, he becomes the second highest paid superintendent in the state. Well, people could be like, well, it's the third largest, so blah, 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 right? Yeah, but the first largest is Philadelphia, which is like many multiples larger. I'd have to pull up the specific numbers. And it's like the pay is not that much larger than what he's asking for. So just remember, the market rate for the superintendent position is kind of arbitrary because there's only so many of them, versus the market rate of support staff, which is hundreds of people across, it could be thousands, honestly, across a school district. I mean, there's like 3,000 employees. So it could be way more. I don't know. But yeah.
Support staff shortages. And no matter how much anyone might feel positively about Dr. Lukabaugh, I think that the budget discussion that we had recently makes it...
Yeah, so this, pointed out in chat, but also Tab's about to say it too. They literally just complained about not having money, then raised taxes, which remember, the Republicans are not fiscally conservative. They're not financially responsible. They don't care about any of that until a Democrat is in power and they can say, they raised your taxes. Because guess what? The Central Bucks School Board raised your taxes. They raised your taxes already. So when the Democrats take office, hopefully, when we flip the board, guess who's going to get the blame? But it's not only is it corruption, as pointed out in chat, it is extremely hypocritical, and it is clear as day doing all of this out in the public and just being shameless about it. So this is where it's like there needs to be a light shown on this stuff, and I'll let Tab continue.
So difficult to accept a 40% pay raise, a $90,000 pay raise. I'll bet many people in this community would be happy to make $90,000 a year, let alone that be their raise. You might remember we denied Cold Spring, I think $20,000 after the community.
Cold Spring is an elementary school for those listening.
Parents raised, I think, $50,000 or more. And we said no because there was a shortfall, and the shortfall wasn't because they didn't meet their goal. It was because material costs went up and shipping costs went up. And we said, sometimes you want to paint your house and you got to wait to paint if the price of paint goes up, right? So I'm having a hard time accepting this huge pay raise in the face of many of our employees being paid under market. And so I'm not opposed to a pay raise. I'm not. But I think this one is, it's too big. I would make a bet that in order to pay this, because I'm wondering, like, where is this money going to come from? We just raised taxes, and that budget discussion was tight. That was a difficult budget discussion. So when I think about like the role of a school director, the two most important roles that we have are being good stewards of taxpayer money and hiring a superintendent. Those are the two most important.
Which, by the way, the school board, I mean, removing Tabitha, Mariam Mahmood, and Karen Smith from this conversation because they're the Democrats. They're in the minority. The majority on the school board has not been at all fiscally responsible with the tax dollars that they have been allotted based on our tax dollars. They wasted over $1 million in legal fees. Wasted. They don't actually care about fiscal responsibility. They're fighting a culture war. They're fighting a control war. And they're trying to choke people out that have differing opinions. And they act like they can accept differing opinions, but they can't. Go and listen to all of the public comment, and you'll see where there's outbursts from the Republicans like Jim Pepper throughout a number of times, who called Karen Smith a psychopath in a school. This is a sitting school board member calling another school board member in a meeting publicly on the record a psychopath. The school board is completely unhinged. The rest of this is it's just more of the same. This is just like frustrating. This is like, I'm not going to play this whole thing. It says it's 6 minutes. I'm not playing the whole thing. Don't worry. But this is the majority kind of stumbling over like what they have as their excuse.
Honestly, I could not quite believe my eyes when I received our copy of the agenda for tonight.
So this starting off is School Board Director Karen Smith, Democrat, questioning the Republican majority and saying, where's this coming from? Where's this stuff, where did this contract stem from? Where did this amount come from? Why did we decide 40%? Why are we giving $90,000, etc.? Because guess what? This, like I said earlier, the 3 Democrats didn't even know. They're not even clear. I listened to the whole meeting. It's not even clear why it's 40%. Not even clear why it's $90,000. It is not clear who came up with the contract, who came up with the idea to give him this contract. You can draw your own conclusions where it just so happens that 6 of them are unified on this. But I'm going to skip ahead.
Tonight's meeting and read the line about
skip ahead on what Karen has to say necessarily. I just wanted to show you what the Republicans are saying in response.
Can we please stop? Okay, Ms. Blosswell. I'd just like to speak to the actual contract and the accusations of a
on the by the way, on this, and this is true. This contract gives the superintendent a 40% raise, right? We went over that. 8 weeks of paid time off, 5 weeks of vacation, 3 weeks of sick time, and an extra $10,000 into the retirement fund. But if they don't use all the vacation time, that can be cashed out. Now, I don't know about you. I can't do that in my job. So, just saying.
Sunshine violation. That is incorrect. I gave my consent to allowing a new contract to be put on the agenda.
She is trying to look. This is you're looking at someone trying to find a explanation as to why the 3 Democrats never heard about this conversation, never were included in this conversation, never knew about this being on the agenda until the day before. They had an executive meeting 45 minutes before this meeting. That's it. That's all they knew about it. This is somebody trying to cover up, because the Sunshine Law, everyone always talks about the Sunshine Law, and local officials break it. It is clear as day that local officials break this rule all of the time. And later in this meeting, the Sunshine Law was used against the Democratic minority trying to put something on an agenda, but they can break it all the time. The solicitor is a joke. This is clear as day, someone trying to find a reasoning, a justification, and saying, no, I solely, one-on-one, gave my consent to somebody. I, one-on-one, just one-on-one. And then that person, one-on-one with them, and then the next one-on-one with them. 6 one-on-one conversations to then come to an agreement somehow that they're gonna raise the superintendent's salary.
As an individual, I was in support of seeing a new contract, and it's on the agenda.
Okay, well, I've been on the board for 8 years, and every other time I've been through this situation, as people mentioned, there were executive sessions beforehand. It was not something
We
that
just had one.
We had one after the fact, after it was added to the agenda by the board majority.
When you
45 minutes before the meeting.
are saying the board majority, no, that's not true, because I didn't meet with I was seeing this on the agenda.
You have a second. This is Sharon Colopy, who is not running for re-election, by the way. The first person was Lee Vlasbaum. Here you have Sharon Colopy, who is not running for re-election. This is a seat that will be open where Artie Martino is running against the Democratic very good candidate, Rick Herring. Martino being the wife of Paul Martino, who is the multi-million-dollar hedge fund gambling boy who has millions of dollars to pour into school board races and is not solely responsible for what happened in Central Bucks, but is significantly responsible for what is happening in Central Bucks by having this majority do his bidding on the school board. And by the way, they don't believe in public education.
Agenda the same time you did. On when do we receive it? We receive it Friday. That's the first time I saw it. So don't tell me.
But you were asked about it prior to that.
No. Don't tell me that we have secret meetings, because it's not happening.
Yeah, they just have phone calls, conversations, texts. You know, it's not a meeting per se. It's just that they all somehow come together on the same idea. They're actually, we all know about the woke mind virus. This is the conservative unimind. It's like a giant brain that they can just telepathically talk to each other, or grave mind from Halo that can just pull each other. Everybody, they pull each other. It's not a meeting because it kind of doesn't really happen in reality. It's like, oh, we're having a meeting that just happens in the ether. It's like in a black hole. We're not really there. We're not physically there. It just so happens that we're connected. We know exactly what the other people want to do. We agree. It just so happens that we didn't have a meeting. So that's really what's going on here. The school board approved it 6-3. Wow, big shocker. I actually quickly want to talk about this as well, which I'm not going to read all my tweets back and forth here, but I tweeted out and I said, pretty upsetting that we got a superintendent out here getting a yearly raise that's bigger than my entire yearly salary, especially after how the district has been run over the last 2 years. And this woman, Jamie Cohen Walker, responds. She goes to like all these meetings. She came to one of the this woman came to one of the Doylestown Democrats meetings, the organization that I'm chair of, that was promoting basically this group. It wasn't promoting this group. It was in coordination with this group, AFI, whatever it is, right? And it was talking about bringing basically certain policies to a school board, and it was nonpartisan, so we let everybody come in. This is a staunch Republican, Moms for Liberty person. She goes to all these school board meetings. So she tweets back at me after that and says, "Protect CBSD from Bucks Dems who want to hurt children." Tweeting out a Inquirer article about a Central Bucks teacher that was charged with sending a child inappropriate messages, right? And who was fired. Now, this is not the teacher, by the way, for those who actually know Central Bucks, this is not the teacher that I had as a teacher in the Inquirer. This is not Dr. Ort. This is another teacher that I didn't know about. I never had, right? I actually had a child predator as a teacher for 3 years, as I point out in my next tweet here, to this woman. And the school board majority did nothing. I graduated in 2014. He got fired in 2021 and arrested. So going back and forth, I am so sick and tired of these people. I responded. Board majority was R when I was in high school with a predator as a teacher I had for 3 years total. Your fixation with, quote, grooming is concerning. All these people, by the way, that keep talking about grooming, that is extremely concerning. And that is like gaslighting 101, or it is projection 101, in my opinion. I said it's 1,000% bipartisan agreement to stop child predators. We all agree with that. And here you go. There she is with Mamas for Desantis. And there's plenty more. I believe there was another response here. Saying, yeah. Do you know the teacher really didn't commit the crime? Do you agree with this? I know you're very political. See past it. Like I said, I'm talking about two different people. By the way, here's the real kicker of this, and I'll stop on the local stuff. I'll stop on the local stuff after this. Miss Cohen Walker points out that Dr. Lukabaugh did the right thing, which I will take their word for it. I don't know about this case. I'll take her word for it. And went after this teacher, even when the district attorney wouldn't. They're all saying the district attorney didn't even go after this person. And yes, Lindsay, I'll get to that in a second too. I might as well while we're at it. I'm sorry. This woman said that the district attorney did nothing about this. Oh, the district attorney's a Republican. Matt Weintraub is a Republican district attorney in Bucks County who is running for judge, and he's checked out probably. That's why. Well, I said we should elect a Democrat to be district attorney next year. Some petty asshole like that. What Lindsay was referring to in the chat, that you have this tweet. Moms for Liberty, which, by the way, supports all of the Central Bucks Forward school district candidates, which is the Republicans, are supported by Moms for Liberty, which is labeled as an extremist hate group. President Biden, mental health care is health care. Yes, we agree. Yes, Biden, based. And then he goes, that's why I'm proud to have released a new national strategy to transform how we understand and address mental health in America. Training more providers, improving access to care, and building healthy environments that promote mental health. Moms for Liberty quote retweets President Biden and says, mental health is healthcare, Mr. President. That's why it has no place in public schools. Parental rights. This extremist right-wing group thinks that mental health care is healthcare. Okay, we agree with that. But it has no place in schools. So, I'm sorry. So, healthcare has no place in schools. You want to fire all the nurses? You want to fire all the therapists? You want to fire all the psychologists? You want to fire all the behavioral specialists? Get rid of them. We don't need them. And then I tweeted, the far right blames every single school shooting on mental health issues. And yes, Shaz pointed out in chat, they did brag about having 8 mental health professionals for the whole district. I know. We have the most mental health. Yeah, you should have the most mental health. That's a good thing. The most mental health professionals the more you can get, the better. We agree on that. They're bragging about it, but then I said the Moms for Liberty people believe that it shouldn't be in there. I said the far right blames every school shooting on mental health issues. When anyone tries to provide resources to help with the mental health crisis, then they don't want them. Some of us actually give a damn about providing help and support to those in need. Thank you, President Biden. It is quintessential Republicanism, and I mean the Republican Party. Again, there are plenty of, I'm sure, Republican voters out there that believe that mental health is an actual issue. Mental illness specifically, but mental health broadly. And they want to do something about it. But the Republican Party as a political unit, as a power, utilize mental health as a buzzword, as a key phrase, to skirt any responsibility that the NRA has, because the NRA pays for the campaigns of the national Republicans, of the state Republicans, of your local Republicans sometimes. This is why elections matter. This is why elections matter. And you have an opportunity, if you live in Central Bucks, to flip this board of Democratic control. We need to win 4 of these seats at least, but we need to win all 5. Okay, I'm so tired of this school board just running like an absolute mess. All right, next. In New York Magazine, an article by Freddie DuBois wrote, and it's titled, AOC is just a regular old Democrat now. For those maybe just listening, if my sarcasm wasn't leaking off enough, my eyes are also like rolling in the back of my head. I'm gonna read you the first like paragraph or so, and then we'll dive into this. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's recent appearance on the Pod Save America podcast, which is full of, by the way, Pod Save America is more like a center-left podcast. That's fine. If you listen to that, that's fine. We can disagree politically. They're former Obama staffers. That's the problem that this person has. That's why he's saying this. For me, and this is now quoting again, for me, the feeling of a final disappointment, the kind that's a little sad but brings a set of quixotic hopes to a close. I don't even know what that word is. AOC appeared on the popular Crooked Media show to announce her endorsement of Joe Biden for president in the 2024 election. To deliver that particular endorsement while appearing on that particular podcast, where former Obama administration staffers defined the limits of acceptable left-of-center opinion, was to send a very deliberate message. It was AOC's last kiss off to the radicals who had supported her, voted for her, donated to her campaign, and made her unusually famous in American politics, the beneficiary of a wholly unique cult of personality that is now starting to come undone. Now, I'll put this in the chat. Those who are interested, you can go check that out. This is complete crap. Okay. Here is this is leftist political purity testing. And I say this as somebody that has been labeled as far left as they come, basically. And I am unabashedly progressive. I wrote an entire chapter of my book about AOC's journey to become congressman or congresswoman and what the Justice Democrats did. These same people will talk about how the Justice Democrats hasn't done anything. They just, they don't even support like real progressives. They don't do anything. They've only flipped like 12 seats or 13 seats. We only got Jamal Bowman, Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Greg Cesar. I don't know if Maxwell Frost is part of that, but, Ro Khanna. We don't, come on, guys. There's only 15 or so. The leftist purity on some of these things is so infuriating. I'm sorry. AOC, one, knocked off the number 2 Democrat, Joe Crowley, in 2018 in one of the most unprecedented political upsets in the modern era. Okay? Number 2, AOC endorses more political or more primary opponents to incumbents than any other congressman, any other senator, etc. in the United States as an elected official. AOC has done more for union organizing. She was literally out with the UPS and I believe the UPS, because they weren't striking. I'm sorry. It was the SAG-AFTRA strike early on. She also, by the way, people criticize her for this. I would criticize her for this. I think she was wrong. This is where you can have a disagreement without saying she's a sellout. When Amazon was having in Bessemer, Alabama, was having their organizing around unionization, people were saying, oh, she's a sellout, she's not there. Well, actually, organizers asked them not to come yet. That's why Bernie Sanders wasn't leading the way. That's why Elizabeth Warren wasn't leading the way. That's why other Congress people weren't out there with them, because at the time, they didn't necessarily see it as a huge benefit to have these elected officials there. Now that the dynamics have changed, people want it, they view it as a positive thing. I view it as a positive thing. I think it's a good idea to have as many eyes as you can get on these union elections, Starbucks, etc., right? AOC did more for the DSA alone, which, whatever you feel about the DSA, on her election than any other single elected official in the history of that organization. And the list goes on and on. Now, people are going to pinpoint this endorsement of Joe Biden and say, why is she endorsing Joe Biden? She can endorse Marianne Williamson. Why? Well, we could ask the same question. How come Bernie Sanders endorsed Joe Biden? He could endorse Marianne Williamson or Bobby Kennedy Jr. They're both running in the Democratic primary. Well, here's the thing. There is pragmatic politics, which, yeah, is not as sexy as the purist. And then there is the purist side of things. When you look at the pragmatic side and you say, okay, AOC has a long time, most likely, ahead of her in this seat. She needs to build a coalition. She needs to build these relationships and expand the left. Bernie Sanders is the same thing. We have to stop with the crap about being elitist, because a lot of, let's be honest, this is on the center left, this is on the right, this is on the left, are elitist. And I don't mean like in a class way. I mean like in a, I'm morally superior because I don't believe in X, Y, and Z, and you believe in A, B, and C. And if we, just in isolation, said in 2024, your options are Trump and Biden, the answer is clear. If you're in a primary where you have the sitting president as an elected congressman or congresswoman or senator running against a whack job anti-vaxxer or Marianne Williamson, who, although has some decent policy takes, is also kind of aloof. You have to prioritize a longer-term strategy and advocate for people that are not 100% with you, but are closer. It is a lot easier to be ideologically pure when you have no power. Which, again, the left has no power. Whether we like that or not, people claim, the Republicans want to claim that the left, the progressive left, the AOC is controlling Joe Biden. AOC is personally turning the frogs gay. No. The left has, and I mean the left, I mean progressives, have like 25 to 30 genuine progressive caucus members. And there's maybe 10 senators that I consider actually progressive. And like, even you look at someone like Senator John Fetterman, which like backed off of Medicare for All, backed off of fracking. I mean, there's a number of issues that arise to get in some of these positions of power. Now, we don't know how these people vote on these issues. And this is where it's like, what is the reality? Who knows? Who knows? But like, to call AOC like a sellout, or to say that she is a regular Democrat, just completely throws the baby out with the bathwater. It completely jumps the shark. And there is no, if not, like, let's just be honest here, if not AOC, who takes up the mantle after Bernie Sanders? What is the progressive movement right now without Bernie Sanders? Nothing. It is leaderless. It is rudderless. And if not AOC, then I don't know who. Like, please tell me, you know, in the chat, in the comments to this, or in the chat. I see her as a vessel for leadership in the future. You don't have to agree with every single decision. But it is clear in a presidential primary right now that endorsing the president is going to get you, and I mean you in the colloquial sense, meaning Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. Remember that, like, let's realize this, that the Biden administration's labor policies are the best that they're the best presidential labor policies in 30, 40 years, because Bernie Sanders helped craft the agenda for Biden and then got certain people into the administration. The focus on the National Labor Relations Board is because of Bernie Sanders and running in that primary and coming close to winning. And then when he was going to lose, dropping out and supporting the candidate, not saying, "Oh, I'm going to take my ball and go home." Because trust me, that's what you want to do when you are losing or you have lost. You want to say, "I'm done. I'm backing out. I don't want to do anymore." You're on your own. I know the feeling. But the way to build coalitions, the way for a long-term solution, the way to promote and build progressive policy in the long term is building across, up and down, diagonally, as many coalitions as you can. And sometimes it takes these decisions that we don't all love. I mean, I support her endorsing Joe Biden. I think that anybody that's voting for Marianne Williamson is throwing away the vote. It's kind of a waste, but for a purity sense, go right ahead. Anybody that is voting for Bobby Kennedy Jr. is voting for a whack job. And obviously, if you're voting for the Republican, then good luck to you. Quickly, speaking of labor rights, UPS and the Teamsters come to an agreement for their drivers. Now, I'm going to go over the deal really fast. But the Teamsters are avoiding a strike, which is good and, of course, on some level is a little disappointing, as a friend of mine pointed out, because the chaos of organized labor to an economy gives labor more power. Just frankly, right? And without organized labor, you don't get anything. And I wish, and I had a conversation, I had a couple messages that was about a nurses union the other day, saying like, I wish I could have a union. I wish I could have a union. But I can't. I don't have that opportunity. So the Teamsters are advocating for the UPS drivers, their UPS drivers, which I believe is like close to 100,000. If I want to say, I don't know that precise off the top of my head, but here's what the deal includes. The deal includes the main bargaining points, basically, of the Teamsters, which is again goes to show you how solidarity works. $2.75 more per hour in 2023, and $7.50 more per hour, or more than $15,000 a year by the end of the contract. So it's like a partial raise for this year, and then a raise for after. Existing part-time workers, who the union said were making as little as $15.50 an hour, will be raised up to $21 per hour immediately, and their starting pay will be increased to $23 an hour during the life of the contract. I don't see it on there, but also noting that part-time employees will be given priority for seasonal work, because remember that UPS, USPS, all the shipping, FedEx, all of these shipping companies and like Amazon, they hire a lot of people during the holidays to increase their capacity. But if someone's part-time, they will get priority. The union members will get priority for those hired positions. Good. A lower tier of wages that allowed UPS to move from a 5-day work week delivery to a 6-day will be eliminated. The 5-day work week, which is so radical, being implemented. No more mandatory overtime. It's good. Again, this provides more job opportunities, and for those who don't necessarily care about working overtime, like they don't mind it, they can still work overtime and still make more money. UPS, I'll zoom in. UPS will add 7,500 full-time jobs and fill 22,500 other open full-time positions. That's big. And those are union jobs. Here's one that I think is kind of like, are we being serious right now? But UPS will buy air-conditioned delivery vans starting next year, and will add heat mitigation features to the existing fleet of 95,000 vans. What that is telling you, and this is true, by the way, this is the same way as like Amazon not letting the truck drivers having to like pee in bottles because they can't stop. UPS drivers don't have air-conditioned cars or trucks. So in like a week like today, or this week, where there's a heat advisory from now until Friday, they just have to sweat it out, suck it up. So that's a very good quality of life improvement for workers. And then they get MLK Day added as a holiday, which they've never had before. So there you go. Solidarity wins. Unity in collective bargaining and showcasing your labor power is how you win fights. Now, let's take a look. Take a little discussion into the Republican primary. This is from The Hill. Biotech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy is seeing his support tick up in the Republican presidential primary against former President Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSanctimonious, according to a Harvard Caps Harris poll surveyed or released on Monday. When respondents were asked who they would vote for if the GOP presidential primary was held today, 52% said Donald J. Trump, 12% said DeSantis, and 10% said Ramaswamy. Well, I saw so many news articles the other day talking about Vivek Ramaswamy is coming out of nowhere. He is surging. He has so much support now. He could possibly pull it off. No, he can't. But what this is showcasing is that Ron DeSantis, Meatball Ron, as I like to call him, Meatball Ron, is falling apart. And Trump is sure he has lost support. He's only at 52% only. But Ramaswamy is like this year's Andrew Yang. He like says some things that generally appeal to the Republicans. And he's not like totally a whack job. Well, let me phrase this right. He is a whack job. But in the grand scheme of this Republican primary, he falls in line with the Trump folk. Like he's not like Chris Christie where he is attacking Trump. He's kind of like a Trump bootlicker, and he has been going at DeSantis pretty hard, which a lot of Trump supporters like. And they want some people want an alternative to Trump, and they don't want it to be DeSantis, so they are supporting Vivek Ramaswamy. He gained like 6, 7, 8 points in the polls here. The thing is that it's like one poll, and even in the grand scheme of the averages, he's at 5 or 6%. With DeSantis at like 20-ish%, and Trump in the 40s, sometimes in the 50s, sometimes in the 60s, depending on the poll. The Republican primary is as locked up as can be, in my opinion. That's as locked as you can possibly make it, at this point. But that doesn't preclude us from saying, oh, Donald Trump is going after Ron DeSantis on the campaign trail, which I just found this funny, so I just wanted to include this. And, this is good Republican stuff. Trump this is like a memo and an email. Unholy alliance. DeSantis campaign colluding with Biden's weaponized DOJ to stop President Biden and stop President Trump and the MAGA movement. This is a little zoomed out for everybody, but I can't zoom in any further. So I'll just read it. From inception, the DeSantis... You can tell that Trump didn't write this, by the way. This is somebody actually writing a letter or a memo. From inception, the DeSantis campaign was doomed. Beginning with a total failure to launch, which was true on Twitter, it was kind of a shit show. Ron DeSantis has warmly embraced establishment rhinos and never Trumpers. Although I think that DeSantis is more like extreme right wing. Despite millions of dollars spent to promote his candidacy, true, Ron finds a way to fall to new all-time lows with every coming poll. Now, amid yet another failed reboot, DeSantis and his establishment handlers have resorted to directly parroting the talking points of radical leftists, which leftists is capitalized. When Ron DeSanctimonious, and he actually wrote DeSanctimonious, was most recently summoned before donors I like how he says summoned, to explain his flailing campaign. His top lieutenants admitted to lighting donor money on fire. And by the way, they fired multiple people, as we talked about last week. Though, even more telling, a top DeSantis fundraiser confessed that their strategy relied on endless political persecutions of President Trump by radical leftist prosecutors. By the way, remember, none of these people are radical left prosecutors. None of the people in the FBI are Marxists. Nobody is going after Trump to stop him from running necessarily. It is just saying you are not above the law. As the DeSantis campaign continues to utterly collapse, Ron has shown he's willing to take the side of deranged Marxist prosecutors and the radical left for any shot at stopping the nosedive that has left him in third place, heading only south. Paid for by Donald J. Trump. This is what it goes to when you click the link. So, Trump just going after DeSantis. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Like, the one positive thing, I hope Trump does go to the debate, because I want him to body and bury Ron DeSantis' political career. I think that would be amazing. And I would love to see it personally. The first debate, by the way, is next month. So we will be seeing it. Last thing for tonight. This is kind of a sad thing, and I am saying this to you fully recognizing the damage that Mitch McConnell has done to this country. Okay? Mitch McConnell is one of the worst leaders, senators, people with political power in the history of this country. And the amount of damage that he has done as a senator and as a Senate majority leader is immeasurable. But this video coincides well with my feelings about what we talked about with Dianne Feinstein a few months back. When folks need help, somebody has to help them, step in and say, hey, listen, it's time to call it a day. It's time to pack in the bag, you know? Like, if you're Dianne Feinstein, you're 90 years old. If you're Mitch McConnell, you're nearly 90 years old. Like, you're in your 80s. Like, it is not to say that old folks can't get the job done. Not at all. Bernie Sanders is a good example. But if these things happen where your mental capacity goes, your people have to actually take it. Like, somebody gives a shit about Mitch McConnell. Not me personally, but like somebody that, his wife, somebody should be like, all right, this is time to, move on from this part of your life and enjoy the rest, like enjoy some part of your life, right? Like, again, this is somebody that I think is a vile person, but I saw someone talk about it and saying, like, look, you have to show respect the same way that people did with John Fetterman when he had to check himself in for depression. On some level, that's true. I don't think it's as comparable to John Fetterman. I think this is more comparable to Dianne Feinstein, and I think it is just something to be like, look, this is something that people deal with. It's okay. He's not like, I don't think he has like Alzheimer's or anything, but just this is really bad, okay? This clip has to be seen. I mean, like, it's the same thing with Dianne Feinstein just saying, like, yeah, I've been here for months and months. What are you talking about? When she hasn't been. Like, these are the people running our our government. And I had I forget, oh man, I'm drawing a blank on his name off the top of my head. I had the author talking about older people running the government, and me and him had a disagreement. I think it is time for new generational leadership in the House and the Senate and the presidency for that matter, but we're not getting the presidency this time. But this is just a prime example of just saying, look, maybe there should be some, like, an age limit. There's an age minimum. Maybe there should be an age limit on being in these positions.
Bipartisan cooperation and a string of
So for those just listening, this is not like, he's just standing there staring out. This is, the video's still going. People are talking to him, asking him if he's okay.
Anything else you want to say, or should we just go back to your office? Do you want to say anything else to the press? Go ahead, John. I'll take it back. Let's go back to you.
Go ahead, John.
bipartisan
So
cooperation.
there you go. I mean, like, it's upsetting. It's one of those things. It's just like, it sucks. It's like, I don't want to feel bad for, like, this is the problem with being a lefty. I don't want to feel bad for him. And but we have to, because this is what people deserve. You deserve to have healthcare. You deserve to have a retirement. You deserve to have a life well lived. Everybody deserves that shot. I just don't think that he should be, still serving as the Senate. Well, he's not the Senate Majority Leader anymore, but he's the Republican Majority Leader in the Senate. He shouldn't be a senator. I'm sorry. It's the same way Dianne Feinstein should resign. Mitch McConnell has not been well for a long time. He just hasn't had the spotlight on him. I am not trying to be like, he's sick, so get him out. No, he's had problems for a very long time. He has had health complications. Like, don't die in office. Don't die in office. Unless, like, some absolute tragedy happens. Like, if I was ever elected and I'm 80 years old, I'm sorry, I don't want to be 80 years old and die in office. Live. Go spend it with your family. Go do things outside of this. I don't know, like. And it is hard to say this about somebody that has done so much damage to this country. But it's true. It's real. That's what should happen. But I don't think so. I think they'll just brush it under the rug and say he had, spicy Indian food at lunch and his stomach was upset and shut down. Like that is like unironically something that I wouldn't be shocked to see like a press release about. Like that is like what we've been getting with, like, Dianne Feinstein's like, oh no, like I've been here. No, you haven't. I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe I never will. But that's all I have for you guys tonight. If you guys enjoyed the show, hit the subscribe button. If you hated the show, you can also hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up. Or, again, if you hated the show, you can hit the thumbs down. For all I care. Engagement's engagement. And you can follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Greater Society Media. You can follow me on Twitter at Con O'Hanlon. And you can join our Discord server, which is linked down below in the description box of this video /podcast. And you can, what am I forgetting? Listen to the show anywhere you find your podcasts. And also support the show on Patreon, patreon.com/Greater Society Media. Hope you guys enjoy the show. leaving you on kind of like this weird somber take. Somber take. But yeah, hit the bell button if you're subscribed already, and it'll tell you when you go live or a new video comes live on the clips. But yes, until next time, guys, make sure you pay attention wherever you live to your local elected school board or your township supervisor board or your borough council or your mayor, because that is where the easiest forms of corruption exist. That's where you can have the most impact. So please get involved, pay attention, do what you can. Until next time, stay safe.